Let's talk about Real Madrid, as we were talking about within the reported interest of Trent Alexander-Arnold. But most recently, let's discuss the comeback win against a very good Atalanta from Gasperini. Mbappe was brilliant until he came off. It was also the first match where all three, Jude, Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., and Mbappe impacted the game, of course, with goals and goals contributions. They end up winning. What you make out of the game, specifically Mbappe's performance before he came off, and Jude Bellingham as well, who's turned a corner because he started pretty quietly, but now he scored, 6 in the last 7?
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that injury, and it seems that it's nothing big, right?
Yeah,
and,
nothing major. Yeah,
nothing major. I mean, I was thinking, I actually wrote it down. Perfect game for Real Madrid. They absolutely needed that because we know that this is a different team. They've had some issues, although if you look at, in particular La Liga and Champions League as well, but I mean, the situation in La Liga is not all that best because Barcelona has dropped off as well, right? I mean, the situation is a little bit more difficult in the Champions League, but I don't have any worries about that when it comes to Real Madrid. The key for them is that I think in that game, that front three, and Real Madrid in general just reminded everybody why Real is Real. So sorry for the simplicity, but I hope everybody gets it, right? Because when there's doubt, we go, Carlo Ancelotti, is he still good enough? Do they need a younger player? Do they need, and we can argue that. And certainly I think we can have conversations about Carlo Ancelotti going forward because there's almost that time where somebody else needs to come in. But I think the doubting of Kylian Mbappe, Vinny Jr. to some degree, Jude Bellingham, because, I mean, obviously the start of the season wasn't great. Not only all three scored, but they are starting to play very, very important role. Bellingham's already, 6 goals and 3 assists in the last few games. So obviously showing the form of last season, LME. If you look at Vinny, I mean, just coming back from injury, right? Comes in, beginning of the game's not so great, but he scores. A little bit lucky, but he scores. And then he's got that wonderful assist, right, from deep within his half for Jude Bellingham. And Mbappe from the beginning looked dangerous. And of course, scored that goal, which I think was important. And who knows, if he stayed on, he might have played even a bigger part in that game later on, because I'm sure that confidence, you could feel it in his, or you could see it in his body language, how important that goal was for him. Great first touch, and then he puts that away. So I'm not saying that, the job is done. But when things go against you a little bit, and everybody's being questioned, starting from the manager, the star players as well, the senior leadership of the team, I think a game like this, in a crunch situation, let's be honest here. I mean, they had to win that game. That was as good as it comes, except for that, still injury to Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you said it perfectly when you said, listen, the thing about Real Madrid is that they don't even need to be perfect. They just have to maintain that grit. And it was a really important match for them against an Atalanta side, which, Gasperini continues to do wonders there. Focusing a little bit on Jude Bellingham here, by the way, everybody, comparing his goalless start in his last 8 games. Look at this. I mean, he scored in 4 straight matches in all competitions for Los Blancos. And as I mentioned, scored in 6 of his last 7 matches for the club. I mean, him alongside Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, when those are clicking, it's important. But let me ask you this for a second about Real Madrid, because they are 18th, 3 points off the automatics, right? What do you make of their fate then in January? They've got to play Salzburg at home and then away at a very impressive Brest, by the way. Something tells me, Janusz, Michallik, that the story will be the same one. They'll crawl back into the storyline and go forward.
they'll win the 2 games, and the rest is not in their control in terms of how far they can get up that table, right?
Mm,
I mean, what are they, 3 points out of the top 8 now?
yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but you can't tell. It's not as straightforward as it is in the group stages, because by now it's over 6 games. But towards the end exactly what you need, and just as long as you make it, right? I mean, it's home and away. It was much different. So this competition is, everybody's feeling it out, and we won't know. But I'm convinced they're going to win those 2 games, home and away, and they'll be up there. And they may be short of top 8, and that's going to be interesting. That's the difference in this new format. If you like it, love it, or hate it, whatever it may be, right? They may have to, obviously, they'll have a pretty big game. So, but there's surprises in the top 8 as well. So it depends. It's a little bit of luck of the draw. Well, not draw, the brackets there. So let's wait and see. But I don't worry about, say, Real Madrid not making it to the out of the group stages. That's not going to be the case. So I don't think they, it's one of those where exactly what you need to do. If you look at the opponents, with Brest, something's got to give. In the last game, I mean, against the round of play, they won this game. They still don't know how they won it. Well, they know because Bizot, the goalkeeper, was standing on his head, right? But they won it. Fair play. I mean, it's a minnow. I mean, what they've done is it's quite incredible when you just look at the Ligue 1 teams. I mean, look at what PSG are. Even Monaco, the Monaco's doing much better. We'll see them a little bit later tonight. But so that's wonderful. But I still think that if you go to Atalanta and do that against an incredibly good Atalanta team, I think they'll be able to do it in the last game against Brest away from home. So no worries there.
Yeah, they're just like a shark in the water. They just need to be around, and eventually they'll find a way.
But let's make something clear, because it's, because we're saying, hey, Real Madrid are back and they're going to win the Champions League. Look, I mean, if they're going to win the Champions League, they're going to need the front 3 in this sort of form. Because it's going to be the front 3 that will get him there. In other words, the rest is out of balance. We all know it. We know about that midfield. There's injuries. Some of them are long term. It's not that easy where you're going to just find players, because you look at Carvajal, Militao, another big injury, and all of that. And they already had issues in the center of the pitch. So there's certainly a lack of balance. Defensively, they're not sound because of the numbers as well. And it didn't look all that great in this particular game as well. Now, I've watched it. I read it. Yes, Ceballos, in that midfield, okay, that's a little bit better. Valverde, is that where he should be playing? No, but we know he can. So it's not all rosy at Real Madrid, but having a front 3 like that, assuming that they can hit their stride and be at their absolute top of the game, it's not impossible. Sometimes you can outscore the opposition and still get the job done.
Yeah, that's why I said they're a shark. They just need to be around and then see what happens. And by the way, they're 2 points off the top of La Liga with a game in hand as well. So, things are still going. But as you mentioned, Vinicius Jr., Jude, Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, absolutely crucial towards their success. And as Janusz said it, and I echo it, our sources confirm on ESPN that it's not too serious, the thigh injury on Mbappe. He just needed to come off for precaution.